Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. So today's topic is trainer education, and the title is What Will Be Your Legacy? Now, we've mentioned before that the trainer education podcasts are directed towards trainers, but they are intended to have value for pretty much anyone listening. So I'm hoping that there are character developing things or business developing things, something that everyone could take away from that podcast. But I do like having a category dedicated for trainers. So I myself, actually, half the clients I work with are trainers, so I train trainers. And there are very little resources that are dedicated solely for personal trainer education. So there's lots of stuff you can obviously find on YouTube and internet sources and whatever about programs and exercises, tutorials and things like that. But very rarely does anybody actually take it from a trainer's perspective to teach to the trainer. So it's more along the lines of just the trainer is supposed to take the information and try to figure out how to apply it to their clients on their own. And then there's maybe not help for like social media presentation, maybe not help for deciding like how long training sessions should be, what should be your price, that kind of stuff. So we like to include more dedicated information specific to trainers because I do work with so many trainers. So that's what today's podcast is going to be, is in the sense that it's directed towards trainers, but definitely there's lessons here that everyone can learn from. So I'm learning this just as myself, as a human being, regular human being, not having to be a trainer, is just the idea of legacy, idea of what will be left whenever I'm gone. What am I contributing to the world that will stay after I'm done? Now, this might not be something that everyone thinks of, but I like to think of it because it actually helps me live better in the now. So if I live in a manner in which I'm wanting to leave the best legacy of myself behind, then I'll actually live the best of myself in the moment I'm at now. So thinking of the future legacy actually helps your present. So it makes you just more aware of your actions. It gives you a better mindset along the lines of what am I doing today and what will be the effects of that long term. So I've found that it actually helps me in the present day, even if somebody wasn't concerned about the future. So just this past week or two, a friend of mine had a friend of his pass away. And it was definitely a bummer. So it always would be a bummer when somebody passes away as a friend. But this friend had texted my friend. So the other friend texted my friend every day. And they would just simply text their name. So we'll just say it was Jim and Rob, okay? So it would be Jim would text Rob. And it would just say, Rob, with an exclamation mark. And then Rob would text back Jim with an exclamation mark. And the idea of it is that simply by getting a text of just your name, it let the person know, okay, if you're getting the text of your name, it lets you know that that other person was thinking of you. They cared about you. They thought about you that day. Maybe they said a prayer or a wish for good things in your life, but you know that you were thought of. And for a lot of people in the world, they don't get that feeling. So I was very blessed to have a quote unquote kind of typical, or what would be the dream typical type of childhood where, I have a sibling, I have, parents that have been married for 40 some years. I grew up in a really nice area. I had my own struggles here and there in life, of course, as everyone does, but my life was well protected in the sense of as I became further along in my personal training career. So I've been doing it for 18 years now. I've worked with well over 1,000 people. I taught at the university for 7 years, all this stuff. And I've encountered a lot of people, and a lot of people don't get the life that I had. So they don't get loving parents. They don't get, siblings. They don't get a nice, safe environment to grow up in. So a lot of people maybe in their life didn't have the sense that anyone was on their side, that anyone was kind of caring for them, wanting the best for them, or kind of supporting them. So sometimes something as simple as a text, just saying your name, can allow people to feel better. It can allow them to feel more connected, more protected. It can allow them to feel like somebody cares about them. So, my friend was getting these texts from his friend. Well, his friend passed away. So he texted me this week and said, hey, and he told me the story and basically talked, and he said, I'm kind of bummed. He goes, it was, it's something that seems so small, just a simple text every morning of just my name, but I miss it. And sad about it, I'm bummed about it, and I was wondering if you would want to participate. So my friend said that he was going to text me every day and kind of carry on the legacy of his friend. So something his friend did while he was alive is now being passed on, even though he's passed away. So it made me think to myself is, number one is it's so cool that something that friend did is now being carried on even though he's gone. And then the other thing that struck me was how simple it is to just text someone's name. It doesn't even take like 10 seconds. But it can impact someone's life so much so that whenever that 10-second effort is gone, they feel the void of that. So my friend felt the void of these texts. He wasn't getting them, and it hurt a little bit. It made him emotional, kind of like was a bummer. I lost my friend, and now I'm not getting those little reminders. So it was amazing to me, number one, that something we do can carry on, which is kind of obvious. But the biggest shock was the number two, was how small of it the effort was, but yet how big of an impact it had made on my friend's life. So, what do you want to live on once you've passed away? So what will be your legacy? What will you have gifted to the world that once you're no longer in the world, that legacy will still be there? What do you want your legacy to be? So I've thought about this over the years, and it's something I have kind of developed a little bit about who I want to be as a person based on that. And I do a couple things here and there intentionally that are intentionally designed to positively influence the people of my life. So, for example, with my clients, I try never to complain to my clients. So my clients come to me for an hour. They come to me and they can complain, they most often do, about just the craziness of life and how life just kind of kicks you in the butt every now and then. But I try never to complain about my life. They're paying me to come and learn how to be healthier through physical exercise, learn how to be physically healthier through nutrition, but also there is an emotional and mental health component to personal training. So we sometimes talk through life. We talk through problems. We talk through issues. A lot of times their nutrition and training habits are based on their reactions to emotional and mental issues. So I have to address those in order to get the correct nutritional and training habits that I need for the results that they want. But a lot of times there is just crap that comes up and we talk about it during our sessions. So they're coming to me to take care of their crap, not for me to dump my crap on them. So I try my best not to complain to my clients. I'm pretty much always positive, even if it has to be somewhat faked. Okay? So there's a running joke in the gym, especially the people who know me well. They'll ask, like, how are you doing? I say, I'm always good. That's always my answer, even when I'm not. Because I don't want to dump on people. That's not like, I'll handle my shit and I'll talk to a friend or two here or there when needed. But I don't want to dump just negativity across the world and across the gym and just ruin everyone else's day. So that's my choice. So I'm not saying you have to. But my intent behind never complaining to my clients, by trying to always be positive, by always answering, I'm always good, to how are you doing? My intent is to pass on happiness, to bring calmness into their life, to try to improve their mental and emotional health in some way. So that legacy that I might want to pass on is they'll just say, man, Rob was always positive no matter what was going on in his life. And maybe that can help them be more positive no matter what's going on in their life. You never know. Might be something small, might mean nothing, but it helps actually me live a better life because I do always try to find the positivity. I do always try to remain positive in areas of my life, even if one area isn't positive. So I try not to kind of let one bad, seed ruin the bunch or whatever the heck that phrase is. So another thing I do is I treat every personal training session like it's a teaching session. So everybody who comes to me, no matter what we're doing in our workouts, I'm always explaining what we're doing, why we're doing it, and what the benefits are to them. But there's always teaching components. First of all, I love teaching. So I went for an undergrad in health and phys ed, and I loved teaching the students. I just hated all the bullshit of the paperwork and horrible pay and parents. So I went on to grad school, got a master's in nutrition, and was a GA, graduate assistant, and taught during that time, and then taught even after I graduated, teaching like exercise physiology, weight training classes, and stuff like that. And so I love teaching. I enjoy it very much. So I take my training sessions and treat them like teaching sessions. And I love that because I'm getting to pass on education to my clients. Not only for things that they'll then know how to apply to the rest of their life, for the rest of their life, but also to others that they may help. And especially that's why I love working with trainers, because if I can help one trainer, I can help all of their clients. So it allows me to feel like I'm getting a bigger impact into the world. So it's like that ripple effect, as if I help one person, they help 10, I essentially get to help 11, in a way. So it makes me feel good and it motivates me to do more, to learn more, to be more. Then I like doing the podcast and social media posts that we do on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So try to do some kind of educational post every single day on social media. The podcasts, I hope, are educational every day. And again, that's getting to pass on education to the world outside of just my clients. And again, that allows me to make an even bigger impact. So I can have the singular client I work with. If they're a trainer, I can essentially have some influence into all their clients' lives. And through the podcast, I get to have a big influence, which is really cool and hyper motivating. So it really makes me excited to do these podcasts every day, believing that it has the chance to help people. So I'm not overly concerned with how big of an impact I can make, but it is fun to believe that you can help people. So there was a friend of mine went to high school one time and was talking to high school students. And he asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And kind of an odd question for older people, but it was still a good question. And one of the students answered, I want to be a great man in a small town. And it was a great, wonderful, amazing, I love that answer because it was so simplistic, but yet so meaningful. So some people might want to be a rock star. Some people might want to be an astronaut if you ask like a young kid or something like that. But this person just wanted to be a good man, a great man in a small town. So I thought it was awesome because it brings to light the idea of focusing on the world around you before you focus on the world as a whole. So think of who you can help that is in your current life right now. Take care of the people immediate to you before you worry about making an impact larger than that. And I think as the generations who grew up with social media and technology as a regular way of life, I think that concept gets absolutely lost. Is they'll worry about having, 10,000 likes on a post, but yet they act like an asshole to a friend or a family member that day because maybe they're stressed about how many likes they got on that post. So sometimes they can lose touch with how well of an impact they make on the people immediate to them by trying to go after this big, large social global impact. And that's something I want to try to be aware of in myself, is always focus small. And if I do the small stuff great, then the big stuff will be done eventually. Okay? So learn small so you'll be ready when the big stuff comes. So in business, my dad always told me it was good that the gym grew slowly. And when I was younger and I first started a gym, I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, I wish, there was 1,000 people here. I wish I was, da 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 da. And I just wanted to go, 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 go. And when he said, like, I'm glad the gym is growing slowly, I know what he meant then, but now I really feel the impact of what he meant was I made a shit ton of mistakes. So when I first opened the gym, and I'm still making mistakes now, but they're less frequent at least. But it is cool to learn small because the impact of those mistakes isn't as large and as detrimental. And then also, if you learn along the way, when the big stuff comes, you'll be ready to do it right. So growing slow is actually a benefit. Okay? So, those are some things I think of whenever I think of the legacy that maybe I'll be able to leave behind. But you, what will your legacy be? If you're a trainer, what will your legacy be to your clients? What are the gifts that you're leaving behind to your clients? What are you going to make a difference with in their life when you're gone? What will you have left behind for them? If you don't have clients, if you're not a trainer, or even if you are a trainer, think beyond just your clients. What about your friends? What about your family? What about your spouse? What legacy will you leave behind to the people closest to you? The people who love you the most? Are you searching for their approval as much as you're searching for the approval of strangers on social media? Which approval do you believe should mean more to you? So think about that. When you think of what will be the legacy you leave behind, think of the people closest to you first. What will they remember? What gifts have you left into their life before you think of the global picture? Now, if you're thinking, well, I don't have a lot to offer, what can I really do to make a difference in people's lives? It doesn't have to be big. You don't have to leave somebody $1 million. You don't have to, quote unquote, change their life. So just like my friend's text, it was something that was so small. Like I said, maybe 10 seconds a day. But it was something that left a legacy. When he was gone, those efforts, that they meant something. That 10-second text meant something to people. Okay? So don't worry about how big your efforts are. Worry about their depth. How much they mean, not how many people they reach. So, think about this, and you can start today. With each person you meet today, with each person you interact with, ask yourself, what will they remember from this moment? What actions, what words, what are you putting into their life that they will remember? Will they remember something positive? Will they remember something happy? Will they walk away from that moment a better person? What will they remember from this moment? It's a great question to ask yourself when you're angry and frustrated with people. What will they remember from this moment? Can you handle that moment with care and compassion before you blow up and scream and act like a fool and maybe try to hurt their feelings with mean words that you don't really want to say? You're saying it out of emotional reaction. So think about that. What will they remember from this moment? In the way that I'm acting, in the way that I'm speaking to them, in the way that am I giving them attention or am I blowing them off? In what I am doing, what will they remember from this moment? Ask yourself that. And you can use that every day, whether it's in big actions or small actions. What will they remember from this moment? What will be your legacy? So if you're a trainer, before every single personal training session, ask yourself, what will I do during this session that'll give this person the best benefit in their life? Will I put my phone away and actually listen to the person when they're talking? Well, I teach them the movements that they're doing so they learn why, and maybe they can continue to do them even after our sessions are done. Can I help them through emotional and mental issues rather than just blowing them off or hoping the person goes away or the issues go away? What can you do today? What can you do in those moments to invest into that person to make their life better? Okay? Now, if you need any help in this, or if you want to learn more ways in which maybe you can invest into people's lives, we're always happy to help. So you can email us at brutalirongym@gmail.com. We'll tell you some stories, we'll share some things, whatever you might need to help you do better at this task. But consider this as something to try for your life, at least for just a week, okay? Or even one day. Just think to yourself is what will they remember from this moment? And act in a way that you would want them to remember. Okay? So, good luck, and I promise it will help your life as much as you try to help someone else's. Cool. Okay, if you like the podcast, please share it with family and friends. The more people we help, the happier the world will be. Also, if you like this information, you can find more from us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Brutal Iron Gym. And if you have any questions, feedback, or suggestions, we'd love to hear from you. The podcast is for you, so we want to know what you want to learn about. You can tell us at our email at brutalirongym@gmail.com. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening. And thank you for watching.